everyone. Just wanted to welcome you again. I'm so glad to see all of you here. Venerable will be coming in shortly. We are so honored and happy to have her here. She was ordained in 1977. She's been a long time student of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Yeshe, and so she has close connections to our center as well. We've been fortunate to host her here a few times, and we hope to do so many more times. And so today she'll teach on good karma, her book, a book that recently came out. And then we also have some of her other books here. I think, unfortunately, we have maybe run out of the good karma version, but you can Amazon and online, and we'll be happy to take any orders if you want to order it. And that's it. So I'll go get Venerable in about 2-3 minutes. So if you guys can settle down, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Oh, and the cell phones. If everyone can please remember to switch off the cell phones, even vibration, preferably not, please. Just switch the phones off, yeah? Oh, yes. So if you would like to make an offering to Venerable, you can, at the end of class today, for this afternoon, where you can do a personal offering. We have the katas that you can use for an offering. And then we also have a group offering if you want to contribute just simply to the group offering for Venerable. And that's on the shelf over there. Great, thanks. Right over there.
Did you spend your whole evening thinking about what you think about him? I'm really sorry. Not everybody, you know. Yeah. You can try again tonight. Maybe they will do tonight. Okay. So this is, put this on. This is also a good reason, you know, why we shouldn't pay so much attention to reputation and what other people think about us. Because they really have much better things to think about, like themselves, you know? And they're not going to spend all day and all evening wondering what they think about us. Okay. So we'll start out with some prayers, some recitations to take refuge and to set our motivation. And then we'll go into some silent meditation. And then after that, we'll have the talk. Okay?
So if you can turn to page 7 of the Kurukulla Center prayer book. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge. Through merit from giving and the rest, to aid all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge. Through merit from giving and the rest, to aid all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge. Through merit from giving and the rest, to aid all may I become Buddha. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be parted from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from bias, attachment, and hatred. I'll just chant a few 7 recitations of Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra. Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Munaye Soha. 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 Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Munaye Soha.
before we begin, let's cultivate our motivation. And with a heart that realizes that we are part of the interdependent whole of all living beings, and that what we think and say and do influences everybody else, then let's cultivate a compassionate attitude that cares about not only our own but other living beings' welfare, and wants to work for the long-term benefit of all beings. And the best way to do that is to purify our own heart and mind, develop our good qualities limitlessly, in short, to become a fully awakened Buddha who has the wisdom, compassion, skillful means and power to most effectively be of benefit to others. And so with that motivation, then let's learn the Dharma today and see what we're going to do as one step in the bucket of, one step on the path, one drop in the bucket of accumulating all the causes for full awakening. So if our ultimate long-term aim is to be of great benefit to all living beings, then first we have to get our own house in order. Because if we're a mess, then how are we going to help anybody? Yeah, it's like the blind leading the blind. You know, we won't be able to really do anything good for others. A little bit here and there. But if we really want to increase our capability of being of great benefit, to do that, we very much have to work on ourselves. So the teaching on karma and its effects is a very necessary part of working on ourselves, because our whole practice has to be founded on the basis of keeping ethical conduct. Yeah? If we don't have a basis of ethical conduct, then what in the world are we doing? Yeah? And so nowadays, so many people, ethical conduct, we learned about that in Sunday school. You can't do this, you can't do that. You know, ethical conduct is just a drag. It's a way of controlling people. So some people think like that. Actually, I think ethical conduct is the foundation of feeling good about ourselves. And last night we talked a little bit about that very harsh mind we have towards ourselves, criticizing ourselves so much. I think when we keep good ethical conduct, we start to overcome that mind. Yeah? Because why do we feel bad about ourselves? Because we know we've done things that are mean and hurtful and painful to others. Yeah, why do we feel bad about ourselves? Because we know that we haven't followed our own internal moral compass. So personally speaking, I think, if somebody's going to therapy, or if somebody is in a rehab program, or if you just want to be a good human being, it all starts with ethical conduct. Yeah? And so I often call ethical conduct stop being a jerk. Yeah? Because, when you kill people, you're being a jerk, aren't you? And you're setting yourself up, to spend a good chunk of time, if not the rest of your life, in prison. So that's kind of jerk-like behavior, isn't it? When we take what hasn't been freely given, when we steal stuff, again, we're being a jerk. Who's going to trust us? If we kill, if we take other people's things, why in the world would people feel safe around us? No way. And if we act like that, do we feel good about ourselves? Okay. If we have unwise and unkind sexual behavior, we might have a lot of fun, but do we feel good about ourselves afterwards? And how does it influence families? And what kind of debacle does it make out of a family? Complete mess. And then, of course, lying. Again, maybe some short-term benefit, but then you have we talked last night about anxiety. Yeah? One cause of anxiety is when we've done stuff we don't want other people to find out about. And then when we've lied to cover it up. So one part of anxiety is like, uh-oh, what happens if they find out what I've really done? Okay? So then, again, that makes messes in our relationships with others, and it makes us not feel good about ourselves. When we can live an ethical life, then there's nothing to hide. Yeah, there's nothing to hide. I always figure if, the FBI or CIA or somebody else, keeps tabs on me, they might get some benefit. They'll learn the Dharma. Yeah? Because that's all they're going to find. Except, I get mad at a few people from time to time. But, my life is there, and there's nothing to hide about it. Okay? So, in all these things, if we can live according to our own ethical code and abandon especially harsh speech, and divisive speech and lying and gossiping, then, the guilt, the regret, the remorse, oh, well, crummy person I am, all of that stops because there's no reason to feel bad about yourself. And instead, when you have good ethical conduct, you can rejoice in the merit that you create. And you can rejoice in the kindness that you share with other people. Yeah? So it really turns your life around. So I think that's like the first step in stopping to be a jerk. Okay. If you need some examples of the faults of ethical conduct, just read the faults of not keeping ethical conduct. Just read the newspaper. Yeah? I mean, people who have harmful intentions and act those intentions out on other people, They may be in the cabinet for a while. They may be in office for a while. But eventually, hopefully, people are going to smarten up and not give these people power anymore because what they're doing is harmful. Okay? And then, of course, do you want, are we really so eager for attention that we want the newspaper to write up all about our life? It's like I look at the, kind of these magazines and the newspapers, and, they write all the details about your life that, of course, they don't get right. Yeah. And then everybody's talking about you, but in not such a nice way. And who wants to live like that? I don't know about you, but I think being a nobody really has some value. Yeah? Yeah, nobody's so interested in your private life. Okay, so, ethical conduct is important. To keep good ethical conduct, what do we need to learn? We need to learn about karma and its effects. Yeah, so karma means intentional actions, that we do mentally, verbally, physically. And those actions bring not only immediate effects, those are not the karmic effects of an action, but long-term effects. Okay? So, like lying, you might get some immediate benefit. That's not the karmic result of lying. Yeah? But the karmic result of lying is, if it's a heavy lie, you have an unfortunate rebirth. Then even if you're born as a human being later on, nobody believes your word. And also, people lie to you. Do you really want that result? Yeah? Do you want to live a life where people don't believe your word even when you're telling the truth? Or when other people lie to you? I don't want to have that result. Thank you very much. Yeah? Another karmic result is we have a tendency to do the action again. So a tendency to lie, a tendency to steal, whatever it is, to do it again. And that's a really deadly result, because when you do it again, then you create more karma that brings all the other results later on. And then plus, there's an environmental result. We get, our karma influences where we are reborn. If we're reborn in a place where the crops, where the climate is good and the crops grow, or if we're born in a place where there's drought, or there's flooding, or there's fires, okay? I think the climate change we're seeing, it's a product not only of the conditions and how we are treating the environment now and our fossil fuel consumption and so on, but it's also, I think, a result of karma that we've created together as a group. Yeah, to live in places where the climate now is really getting pretty topsy-turvy, isn't it? I know you guys, was it last year or the year before, had incredible snowfall, way into the spring. And this year, you're having spring way early. Yeah. So, and then the rising sea levels, and in Antarctica, a big shelf of ice is about to break off. And, how all the climate is changing and how our actions now and actions in previous lives, create the cause for us to be born in different kind of climates. Yeah? So the teaching on karma is really quite important, because if we learn it well, it gives us the tools to create the causes for the kind of life and lives in the future we want to have, and to create the causes also for liberation and full awakening. So learning about karma gives us, it empowers us. Yeah, we no longer have to be a victim. Yeah? We may experience the results of our own previous self-centered harmful actions. But when we have a knowledge of the Dharma, then we don't throw up our hands and say, "Why me?" You know how it is when something bad happens. Everybody goes, "Why me?" Well, you know why me. Yeah, if you study good karma and the wheel of sharp weapons, you know why me, because you can see this is the result, these are the causes. I may not have done it this life, but I did it in previous lives. Okay? Have you ever noticed that we never say, "Why me?" when it's something good? Yeah? We never say, "Why me?" We say, "Give me more." Only when it's something we don't like do we say, "Why me?" Okay? So this knowledge about karma really, like I said, it empowers us to create the kind of lives we want to live. And it gives us a way also to deal with problems that arise in this life. Because instead of blaming other people, instead of starting wars, either with one other person or a group of people or another country or whatever, we say, this is the result of my own harmful actions. There's no one else outside to blame. If I don't like this result, I need to change what I'm doing. Because I'm the creator of my own experiences. Okay? So, in my case, I told you, like yesterday, the story of my relationship with the wheel of sharp weapons and how I was so sick. And then I read this verse that, when your body is tortured by illness, it's the result of injuring other people's bodies. And it was like, okay, I don't like this result. I have to stop injuring others. So that doesn't mean, like in my case, just not abandoning killing people, I haven't done that this life. Who knows what in the world I did in previous lives. But I've certainly killed enough other living beings. Yeah. You know what we did? My friends took me out for my 21st birthday. It was a long time ago. To celebrate, to have a good time, to do something you don't ordinarily do because you're turning 21. So they took me to a seafood restaurant where we all picked out the lobsters that we wanted to eat so that they could be dropped in the boiling water and we could have fresh lobster. That birthday was supposed to create the cause of happiness for me. I wound up creating the cause of suffering because of my own ignorance and my own harmful actions. Yeah? So no more seafood restaurants for me. Yeah? I mean, now I'm a vegetarian, and I feel better not only physically, but also mentally being a vegetarian. Okay? So, it made me also think, when I was a little kid, my parents really wanted to have a nice garden, and we had so many snails in the garden. So I thought it was really good to stack up all the snails and then stomp on them. And I thought, I'm helping Mom and Dad to have what they want, a nice garden. Only later did I realize how many sentient beings suffered under my feet because I deliberately wanted to kill them. Yeah? So sometimes when you hear, that we create negative karma by ignorance, these are some examples of it. You even think what you're doing is good because you don't understand karma. And then you wind up, with a lot of, imprints of destructive karma on your mind stream. Okay? So let's continue a little bit more with this. Okay? Are you up for it? Because the Dharmarakshita is the author of The Wheel of Sharp Weapons, and he doesn't pull any punches. He doesn't say, oh, I'm going to feed you Dharma, spoonful by spoonful, the hard stuff, but with a lot of sugar, open wide and zoom, He doesn't teach Dharma like that. He just says it right as it is. And personally speaking, I like that. I like when things are straightforward and very clear. Yeah, because then I know what the story is. When they're not straightforward and they're not clear, then you have to think, well, and then of course I can add my own egotistical interpretation so that what he's saying just happens to agree with my ideas. Okay, which doesn't help me at all. It's much better to hear things straight. Okay. So, what did we do? We did 13 last. Okay. Let's see. When I am separated from helpful and loving friends. Ever had that experience? Yeah, you're separated from helpful and loving friends. It is the weapon of destructive karma returning upon me for luring away others' companions. From now on, I will never estrange others from their companions. Okay, so we're separated from helpful and loving friends. So this could be friends, things, they move away, you have a quarrel, something comes up that impedes the friendship. It can also apply to marriages. You have a good relationship at the beginning and then something happens, where it's not going so well. Which is kind of the nature of marriage, isn't it? Unless you work really, really hard. I mean, it's hard work to be married and to keep up a marriage. And you have to be willing to put in that work. So this is the wheel of destructive karma returning upon me for luring away others' companions. So what are some examples of luring away others' companions? In a work situation, maybe you focus on taking good employees away from your competitor. That's called good business, isn't it? Yeah. But it's luring away other people's good companions. Yeah. In a friendship, it's a thing of, you want to be closer to somebody, you want to break up somebody else's friendship, or you want to get to know rich and famous people So you kind of lure them away from their other friends so that they'll be your friends, so that you can use them for your own ends. Or in romantic relationships, you know, you're in one, or somebody else is in one, and you lure them away from their family, their partner, to have a relationship with you. Okay, so it really interferes with other people's good relationships and creates a lot of turmoil. Okay? So this kind of thing starts when we're very young. Okay, so I have true confession to make along this line. And I bring this example up because it's something I'm not particularly pleased with. From 6th grade. Now, some of you have been 6th grade girls. So you know the mentality. Maybe the 6th grade boys did the same thing. But in my 6th grade class, we made lists every week of who we liked and the order in which we liked them. Yeah, we were terrible. We were vicious, you know? So your favorite people are on the top of your list, and the people, you know when you're in 6th grade, it's like, oh, those people are at the bottom of the list. And then, of course, you show your list to your best friends, and they're at the top of yours, and you're hopefully at the top of theirs. And then sometimes you let it out in the classroom who you don't like, and, you know, to hurt somebody else's feelings. So we wind up really interfering with each other's friendships by making these lists and pressuring people to like or dislike certain people, okay? So I was very involved in this. And then I also had my own little clique of 6th grade girls. So there was one girl, Rosie Knox. I'm hoping one day she comes to a Dharma teaching so I can apologize to her in person. So I forget now what Rosie did, but she was my friend in my clique, but then she went to the bottom of the list. Who knows why? So I talked to all the other girls in my clique, and I got them to agree to kick Rosie out. Yeah. So we kicked Rosie out of the clique. I thought, good. Well, the next week they kicked me out. Yeah. It served me right. Who wants to have somebody who acts like me in your clique of good friends? Yeah. I was horrible. Yeah. So it starts young, interfering with other people's friendships. And then I also think, there were 2 twins in the 6th grade classes, and I didn't like them. And then there was Susan Rigetti, who also, I hope she comes to a Dharma teaching, because I need to apologize to her too. Yeah? You know how there's kids that they don't do anything wrong, but everybody gangs up on them and doesn't like them? And you just hope it's never you, even though you do that to other people? And then sometimes, like when they kick me out, it winds up being you. But I think of, you know, how I made so many people unhappy with my pettiness. Yeah, destroying their friendships and their ability to make friends with other people. You know, this is just 6th grade. Imagine what I was like by the time I got to high school. Yeah. Okay, so as long as I'm doing true confessions, I'll tell you something I did in high school. I'm just giving these as examples so that people, you know, so that we need to do some reflection on our own lives. So, Mr. Boulderson, I need to apologize to him too. I don't know if he's still alive or not. I was in Mr. Boulderson's 9th grade geography course. At the time, I was reading Ayn Rand. Okay, so I was an Ayn Rand junkie. Any of you who don't know who Ayn Rand is, she's kind of the Bible to folks like Steve Bannon and Breitbart News, you know? So I just thought Ayn Rand's philosophy was great. And I thought Mr. Boulderson was the epitome of leeching off society and not doing his share and just being a creep. I don't know why I thought that about Mr. Boulderson. I just was an arrogant 9th grader and wanted to take it out on somebody, and there he was trying to teach me geography. So, and I was a good student, yeah? So there was a chance that people might listen to me if I was unhappy. So I complained about Mr. Boulderson. He does this, he does that. I can't even remember what I said, but I was awful. I complained to the principal, to my parents, to the guidance counselor, and then I refused to go back into his class because I am one of the good people in society who carry my own weight, and he isn't. Yeah. Okay, you can see that Dharma's had some effect on me. I think a positive effect. Yeah. But, you know, this is the kind of thing I did. Poor Mr. Boulderson, I created so many problems for him. He's just trying to do his job. Then, of course, you know, I get him in trouble with the principal and with this person and that person and the other person. Again, separating people from their companions and causing turmoil in people's relationships. All because of I was an uppity Ayn Rand fan. Okay? Really? So, yeah, so these are just some examples. Maybe you have some from your own life of things that you've done, you know, where we've interfered in other people's relationships and separated them from their colleagues, their partners, whatever it is. Okay, so all these verses, the reason I'm going slowly through these verses, you know, is because it's so important with each one of them that we use it to look at our own life and to see what we've done and what has motivated us to do these kinds of things. And then, so that we also feel motivated to do some purification. Because when we see that we've created this kind of karma, yeah, then, and we know that karma is going to ripen when the external conditions are suitable or internal conditions are suitable, and we don't like those ripenings, what's going to happen, then of course we want to purify, yeah, through the four opponent powers, and so it gives us energy to purify. As we purify, again, it impedes the karma from ripening, the negative karma from ripening. And it makes us feel psychologically a lot lighter. Yeah. When we can't bring ourselves to purify our negative deeds because we can't really acknowledge them to ourselves, or even visualize the Buddha and acknowledge them to the Buddha, then we have all this stuff inside of, you know, trying to justify it, rationalize it, whatever, which causes so many psychological problems, okay? When we just say, yeah, I did that, and I regret it, and I'm gonna work hard not to do it again, then somehow we can put that stuff down. Huh? So very healthy spiritually and psychologically. Okay? So what's one of the things that he's advising to help us purify? Well, from now on, I will never estrange others from their companions. Yeah? So whenever there's a possibility to create, you know, disharmony, I will not do it. And furthermore, whenever there's a possibility of creating harmony with people, I will do that. Okay? Now, in our country today, we have a very divided country where people are treating each other awfully. You know, the level of civil discourse has become uncivil. You know, and the way we talk to other people, the way we talk about other people, how we treat other people. There is, you know, increased hate crimes across the country, and, you know, what the government is doing, you know, deporting people and so on, not letting people come in the country. So what can we do about it, aside from voting, aside from writing and calling our representatives, yeah, is we take it upon ourselves to never act in that way in our own sphere, whoever we encounter, to never act in hateful, spiteful ways that divide people, that create disharmony amongst people. And when we hear other people talking badly about others, whether it's an individual in our workplace, whether it's a group of people, that we just step up, we don't get angry, we don't yell and scream, we don't create a conflict. We just say, I feel very uncomfortable with this kind of conversation. Please excuse me. And we leave. And that lets people know. Yeah? That lets people know that that way of talking about other people is not acceptable, at least to us. And if they care about us, it might make them think. Okay? And also, I think, going out of our way to really be helpful to other people, whoever they are. Yeah? I've lived and traveled in many countries, and it's so wonderful when somebody helps you. Yeah? When you're lost and you don't know where you're going, yeah, and somebody helps you. And in some countries, they will actually walk with you or drive and with you following them to where you're going. You know, in America, we usually say, go up to the intersection, make a left, and then we leave the person. But in some countries, they actually take you to where you're going. Yeah? But, you know, in all these kinds of situations, even just being friendly to people in the grocery store, or at the bank, or the gas station, you know, creating some environment of friendliness in the society with everybody. I don't care who they are. This is something very important that we have to do, and that we can do on a personal level, and it has a big effect. Yeah, It does have an effect. Yeah. So I would add that as a PS to this verse. And, you know, if I'm talking too much about politics or things that have gotten politicized in our country, it's because for me, I can't separate dharma and ethical conduct from daily life and politics. I can't, you know, because if you're really going to try to live an ethical life, it's got to permeate everything you do. It's not just, you know, Sunday morning going to church, or in our case, Saturday morning coming to the Dharma Center. No, it's got to be something that we live as best as we can in our lives. Hmm? Okay, our little town in Newport, it's a one-stop light town. Okay, yeah. So there's the town. Then about an hour and a quarter away is the city, Spokane. Spokane is, they have this thing of cities becoming compassionate cities. Yeah, Spokane has become a compassionate city. Yeah, I think it's also a sanctuary city. Yeah. And our half of the state is the conservative half of the state, okay? So I think that's really, really good. And the city council hired this one young man who I met when he was still a college student. And he's in charge of, I forget the exact title of it, but it's like the interreligious department of the city of Spokane. And so he has contacted all sorts of different churches and temples and mosques and things from very different faiths, and organized a program where people go, you know, to different houses of worship on different days, and he's gone to each place himself, done an interview, and just, you know, showed about that particular church or mosque or temple or monastery. And there's a whole website presenting these, you know, here are the faiths and the places of worship, the places of faith in Spokane. And I think that's fantastic, you know? Because Spokane, I mean, it's amazing for a very conservative area, how many different religions there are. And we do come together for different activities. Yeah, the mayor once called us all together to tell us about a website in the city where we can list projects where we need volunteers. Yeah, they called us together when Bernie Sanders was coming, and we had a very short, you know, private thing with Bernie. Yeah, this is Spokane. It's not Seattle. Yeah, Seattle is like bright blue. Spokane is kind of red. Yeah. So, so these kinds of things, even, you know, they're done locally, but they have a very strong impact on the people. Hmm? So I really encourage this kind of thing. And it creates the karma for us to live in harmonious societies. I mean, it creates harmony right now, but it creates karma for us to be born in places with harmonious societies. If we, you know, just create friction among people and create prejudice and create hatred, yeah, then we're going to live in that kind of society here and now. And we're going to be reborn in a place like Syria, where there's, you know, what are we in? We're in the 6th year of warfare. I cannot imagine what those people are going through. I cannot imagine living there. You know? But then, so the smart people got out. I'm not saying the people who were there are dumb, because many of them couldn't get out, and many of them stayed to help others. They have this whole force called the white helmets, who every time after there's a bomb, these guys go out and they take people out from under the rubble and get them to a hospital, especially kids. You know, so they stay for that kind of reason. But you know, to be born in that kind of place, yeah, do you want to be born there? Huh? I mean, it isn't my ideal environment. Maybe if I had more compassion, I would want to be reborn there to be of benefit to people. Yeah, but it's difficult to live in that kind of place. Yeah, or Nigeria with Boko Haram, what they're doing. Yeah, I can't even imagine what it's like to live in these places. Yeah, and what people are going through. And they're just regular people like you and me, just trying to, you know, live their lives. And then they're caught up in all this disharmony. Okay? So what this book is teaching us is very valuable. Yeah? It's very pertinent to our lives. Okay. Okay, here's one that applies more to a Dharma situation. When sublime ones become displeased with me, it is the weapon of destructive karma returning upon me. For renouncing the sublime ones and seeking bad companions, from now on I will give up negative friendships. Okay, so when sublime ones are displeased with me, so here it's referring to our spiritual mentors. Yeah? So sometimes our spiritual mentors show the aspect of being displeased with us. We can't get in to see them. You know, they reply to us curtly. Any number of things could happen, okay? Now, sometimes it could be because we're just not being very polite and very considerate. But sometimes, you know, why is it? Yeah. It is the weapon of destructive karma returning upon me for renouncing sublime ones and seeking bad companions. Okay? So instead of creating a good relationship with our spiritual teachers, instead of creating good relationships with the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we renounce them and we create close relationships with what they call negative friends, okay? Now, a negative friend is not somebody with horns on their head who's plotting how to, you know, take you to hell or somewhere, okay? That's not what a negative friend is. A negative friend is someone who has very rough behavior, very wrong views, and who may wish you well, but because they don't understand karma and its effects, they get you involved in all sorts of negative deeds. So they may be somebody that you consider a good friend, but they're actually a bad friend. Yeah? Because maybe they ask you to lie for them. Yeah, they don't want to go to work because they have a hangover. They ask you to lie and cover up for them. Yeah. I hope you're not leaving. They're being so good. They're being very good. Okay, please. Yeah. Hi. So sweet, aren't they? Yeah? As quiet as could be, you know. Okay, so, yeah, so negative friends don't have horns. Yeah? They're people who, for example, yeah, say, oh, there's this really good business deal we could get involved in. Or I don't know enough about stock market and these kind of things, hedge fund. I don't know what these things are. But anyway, you know, there's something here we can get involved with that's not quite above board, but we're going to make a ton of money. Come in and let's do it. Okay? So somebody who gets us involved in doing illegal activities or activities that are legal, but they still exploit vulnerable people. Okay? Or people who get us to lie for them. Yeah? Like I was starting to say, they passed out the night before, they don't want to go to work, so they get us to call in and say they're sick. Yeah, we create negative karma when we do that. It's also people who, when you want to go on retreat, you want to come for a Dharma talk, they say, what are you doing? It's gorgeous spring weather. Why are you going there? You're going to meditate and just look at your belly button? You know, go out and get a life. Give up this Dharma stuff. Yeah, we're going to go to the disco tonight, and we're going to go, you know, have a picnic today, and yeah. So people who try and take you away from your spiritual practice. Yeah, these are often people, they're friends and relatives that we like. But from a Dharma viewpoint, they're called negative friends. Okay? So we give up our refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha. We give up our spiritual mentors. And then we spend our time with these people. Yeah? And so we, you know, in our ignorance, thinking that we're having a lot of fun or whatever, we create a lot of negative karma. And then it results later on in our spiritual teachers being displeased with us, or us not even being able to meet a reliable spiritual master. Yeah? Instead, we come in contact with charlatananda. Yeah? So, you know, we have to be very careful. I remember being at one kind of Dharma conference and things, and it was during a time when there was a lot of scandals going on. And I remember talking with one of my Dharma friends, we were disciples of the same teacher, and going, wow, are we lucky? You know, we met these fantastic teachers right at the very beginning so that we really learn Dharma as it is. And we didn't meet Charlatananda, who teaches you all sorts of weird things. I had a friend who, yeah, okay, so this guy was a PhD in physics. He was not, you know, on a worldly schedule, worldly way. He was not a stupid person, okay. But being smart in a worldly way and smart in a Dharma way are two different things. So anyway, he met this one teacher who said, you are the disciple I've been looking for. I've really been waiting for this perfect, close disciple to come, you know, who will really carry on what I'm doing and, you know, help spread what I'm teaching. And my friend was so taken in by being special to this spiritual mentor that he thought it was great. So he really played that role and followed that guy until he found out that Charlatananda was sexually molesting his teenage daughters. Yeah? But you see, when we're foolish and we're taken in by sweet words instead of by people who are really serious practitioners, then we're following negative friends. And it's also a result of following negative friends before that we meet Charlatananda instead of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Okay? So, from now on, the thing is, from now on, I will give up negative friendships. Okay? And then doing the taking and giving meditation that I described last night, where we imagine taking on the suffering of others and giving them with love, transforming our body, possessions, and merit into what they need, then you can do that meditation. And again, you can take on whatever suffering of others that you want, but it can be especially helpful for each verse to apply it to each verse. So all the times when I have when I've given up, the 3 jewels and reliable teachers to follow negative friends, I look at all the other people who are having problems doing that, or to all the Charlatanandas who are leading people down the wrong path. And I take on all of their suffering and imagine it as like this lightning bolt that strikes at the lump in my own heart of my own self-centeredness, demolishes it, and then within that open space in my own chest, radiating out with a kind, loving attitude. Sending out reliable spiritual mentors and Dharma texts and whatever to all the sentient beings. Okay? So that's how you would apply that. Okay, we'll do one more verse, then we'll do Q&A. Yeah? Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, here's verse 18. When my material resources waste away. Okay? You had a situation like that? Yeah, you were going good in the stock market or whatever, and then 2008 struck. Or you get a new house and then you find out that the plumbing is broken and it has asbestos in it and all this kind of stuff. So your material resources. You get a car and it's a lemon. Okay, we've all had this happen, right? Yeah. I have this slogan, as soon as you own something, then what comes along with it is the hell realm of owning that thing. Okay? So I've never owned a car, so I haven't experienced car hell, but I know about car hell, okay? But I have experienced computer hell. Yeah, have you experienced computer hell? Right when you're trying to get something done that's very important, and then it deletes your file. I was having a big problem with OneDrive recently. I try and open a file, and it would delete the file. Yeah, when you're working on a book manuscript, this is not what you want to happen. Okay, so we wind up in hell realms where our material things break, they get ripped off, they malfunction. Okay, yeah, we've all had that happen. Okay, it is the weapon of destructive karma returning upon me for being disrespectful towards others' resources. From now on, I will help others find what they need. So what's the karmic cause for our possessions going to waste? Being disrespectful towards others' resources. So what does that mean? It means, what are some examples of it? We borrow money from somebody and then we forget to pay it back. Yeah, I know none of you do that. Yeah, it's other people who borrow money from you who don't pay it back, and you have that very clear in your mind, what they owe you. Okay? But we don't do that. Yeah. What about borrowing books from the Dharma Center and not returning them? Yeah. At the Abbey, we've lost so many library books because people have, and we don't let people take them out of the library, but they take them out anyway, and then they take them home. And one time we were visiting some people, and we saw a book with our sticker on it in their house. You know? So you borrow things, books from the Dharma Center, whatever, and don't return them. You know, what else do we do? Yeah, we take things that belong to other people. Oh, you know what's a really good thing that we do? Yeah, really good thing. Is we take resources from our workplace. Yeah. And if the company says, yeah, you can make personal long-distance calls on the company phone, that's okay. But if they don't say that and you do, yeah. Or if they don't say you can take paper and stationery products for yourself, but you do. And of course, we all explain it by the company isn't paying me enough anyway. So I'm just taking what they, you know, in the goods, what they should be paying me. That's how we explain it. We're stealing, okay? But that is what creates the cause for this kind of thing, our own resources to waste away. Or we borrow something from someone else and we return it, but we return it broken and we don't offer to replace it. And we don't tell the other person that we broke it. Yeah? Or we, you know, borrow things, we don't return them at all. You know? So all sorts of things. We don't respect other people's material possessions. Yeah? So, oh, I could go on with the things I've done with this one. I think you're hearing too many stories from me. I have to be brief now. Yeah. But I've certainly done that. Okay. So, doing that creates the cause for our material resources to waste away, or to break, or for us to not be able to get what we need, or for our whole financial situation to kind of fall apart. Okay, so if that kind of thing happens, instead of getting angry and upset and blaming other people, say, well, this is exactly what I've done myself to other people, and I've behaved irresponsibly towards other people's possessions. Yeah, and so the way to remedy it, from now on, I will help others find what they need. So it's not just from now on, I will abandon that bad behavior. Yes, sure, we have to abandon it. But from now on also, I will go out of my way to try and help others find what they need. Okay? So people's computer isn't working well. If you know how to fix it, help them. Yeah. Or help them fix their smartphone or their car or whatever. Yeah, I've been in various situations. Like I said, I've never owned a car, but I've been with people where the car's broken down and we're stranded on the highway. And it is so nice when people come and help. You really appreciate it, you know. And, you know, now here you can call 911 and whatever, but I mean, I can think of 2 situations, 3 situations right off the bat when I've been traveling in other countries and the car's broken down, you know, and just how grateful you feel when somebody stops and offers to help. Yeah, so helping people find what they need, get what they need. Even you're in the supermarket, somebody's looking for something and you know where it is, you know, tell them where it is. There's so many small ways in which we can show kindness and do things for other people. Yeah, so don't always think you have to do the big ones. The big ones are great, yes. Aim for the big ones when you can do them, but definitely do the small ones and then work up. Okay. So maybe there's some questions or something you want to talk about this? Yeah.
You had said something that made me think, so I'll share a personal story. So I spent my whole life, I wanted to adopt a child. Mm-hmm. And I did adopt a child, and he just turned 19. And it didn't turn out the way I'd hoped. He has a few issues, and things are not as happy as one would hope they would be. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, I kept thinking, you know what did I do wrong? You know, why did this happen to me? And recently, I've been thinking, maybe this happened because he needed me, and I was the right person for him. And I thought about what you had said about Syria, you know, about, you know, maybe you would be in Syria to help them. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering, is that karma? Am I, you know, how might that relate?
You know, these kind of specific things, they say only the Buddha knows the karma. Yeah? So I can't say anything about karma on specific things. Yeah? I mean, definitely this does have to do with karma. Okay? You know, you definitely had the karma to be parent and child. But there could be a lot of other things going on too. I mean, he came into his life with his own karma, you know, different tendencies. Who knows how he spent his early days before he came into your family. Maybe you're both quite good, but just the personalities didn't match. Maybe your expectations were too high. There could be countless things going on in this kind of situation.
I appreciate what you're saying. Actually, maybe my question was more to the idea of, would karma put you in a place to help other people rather than, you know, my actions cause this to happen, more in a general sense?
Yeah.
Is that something karma might?
Oh yeah, certainly. You know, if you have good karma, and your good karma ripens so that you find people who can help you. That's, you know, that's indicative of, yeah, a ripening of some good karma, that you find the kind of people who can help you. Yeah. But don't look at karma as if there are lesson plans that somebody in the universe made. Because from a Buddhist viewpoint, there's nobody who's managing the universe. And it's not that we are born in different situations to learn different lessons. If we choose, and if we're smart, we learn from our experiences in life, whether they're happy or unhappy experiences. But nobody made lesson plans for us, because there's nobody running the universe. It's purely our karma. our karma and other people's karma. Yeah? So yes, we meet people in our lives who help us, and that's a result of our good karma. You know? And sometimes those relationships go well, sometimes those relationships have difficulty. It's not surprising when relationships have difficulty. What is surprising is that we expect them not to have difficulty. Yeah. As soon we are beings born in cyclic existence, that means that we have ignorance, anger, and attachment. And the other ordinary beings, some of them may be some may not be ordinary beings, they may be bodhisattvas, but we don't know that. But there's a lot of ordinary beings. They also have ignorance, anger, and attachment. Do you think when human beings with ignorance, anger, and attachment work together that you're going to have happiness ever after? Yeah? Of course we have problems. Yeah? So if we're smart, we learn from them. If we're not smart, we keep blaming our problems on other people. Yeah. Does that answer your question okay? Okay. Yeah.
So I have a question about abandoning negative friends.
Okay. So let me preface before you say, it doesn't mean that we stomp out of the room and slam the door and say, you're a negative friend, I'm never speaking to you again. Yeah, that's not it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's sort of the subtlety I'm looking for.
That's subtle?
Because I think, and in my life, I'm going to use my husband as the example, because he is essentially a good person who supports my Dharma practice, but has no Dharma practice, and business-wise, ethically, I've always disagreed with him. So, but, you know, I'm committed to the relationship and working on it. I'm not just going to abandon him. So, isn't it true in that if you do have a Dharma practice and you continue your relationships, not in a way that you're pulled, you know, that you develop your practice so you're not pulled in the unethical situation, you know, direction, but then you can be an example to that person.
Yeah.
And that's a good
That's
thing.
fine, that's
Right?
fine. Yeah.
All right, you're not telling me to leave my husband.
Actually, you're very fortunate to have a husband that supports your Dharma practice. Yeah. And the thing is, the things that you don't agree with, just don't get involved with. Yeah. The reason that it often says this is because we do tend to get influenced adversely by people who behave in negative ways. Okay? But if you're able, and you know, clearly he has some other good qualities, otherwise you wouldn't stay there, you know, and things that benefit you, that inspire you. Yeah, so that's okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question that, in the last one about material things breaking down. So suppose the example you use where you have a car that breaks down, but then there happens to be a very helpful person right there.
Yeah.
So are those two karmic seeds ripening?
Yeah.
So one non-virtuous in that regard, and then one virtuous.
Yes.
The same.
Right. Right. Yeah. The car breaking down, result of our mishandling other people's things, but then kind people coming to help you, the result of our offering help and aid to others. Yeah? Karma is very complex. It is not some simple thing. And it's also not, you know, you hit me, so I'm going to hit you in the next life. Yeah? There's so much subtlety to karma and different ways things can ripen. For sure, though, if an action is non-virtuous, the karmic result is going to be unhappy. And for sure, if the if the action is virtuous, the karmic result will be happy. That principle doesn't change. But exactly how something ripens and with who it ripens, there's a lot of flexibility here, okay? So, because if it's like you hit me, so I hit you, so you hit me, so I hit you, then none of us are going to get out of samsara. No, we all want to get out of samsara. So we, somebody hits us. It doesn't mean that that's the same person we hit before. But if they hit us, we don't retaliate, and we stop whatever mechanism is working at that point by not retaliating. Okay, if we retaliate when somebody harms, we're keeping the thing going, either with that person or with somebody else, okay? Also, exactly how things ripen, there can be a difference. We may have a karma, let's say we may have the karma to be born as a human being, yeah. But then we may also have the karma to, because of misusing others' resources, to be born in a place where there's drought. Yeah. Or we may have the karma, to be born in a place where there's a wealthy country. And, so things can change also. The karma may also be going towards ripening as a human being born in this place, and then we may wind up being born in another place because a different karma, the circumstances changed and a different karma ripened. Yeah, so there's a lot of nuances. Sometimes it's one karma that causes a rebirth. Sometimes it's many karmas that cause a rebirth. Sometimes it's one karma that can cause many rebirths. Sometimes it's many karmas that cause many rebirths. So there's a lot, So that's why we can get the general ideas and the general principles, but all the subtle details of an individual way, exactly who we were in a previous life in relationship to this person or that person, that's the kind of stuff only a Buddha can see. Yeah, or knows for sure. Okay? Yeah.
For example, like a tulku who chooses their rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that they have exhausted any growing karma that would put them in a specific rebirth, or how does that work?
Okay, so about a tulku who has taken a rebirth. First of all, okay, to consciously choose a rebirth, you have to be on Mahayana path of seeing, or path of meditation, or path of no more learning, okay? Lower level bodhisattvas cannot choose their rebirth. Everybody who is identified as a tulku is not necessarily a high bodhisattva. They haven't necessarily attained path of seeing or path of meditation. They may not even be a bodhisattva. They may just have good karma to be identified as a tulku. Yeah? So don't think that everybody who has the title tulku or rinpoche is necessarily highly realized. I'm just telling you what His Holiness says. And His Holiness sometimes will look at the tulkus and he'll say, you guys are benefiting maybe from who you were last year, but you have to be worthy of what title you have now and act appropriately. And he often says, being a tulku is just social standing. And we should not choose our teachers based on titles. We should choose our teachers based on their education, based on their ethical conduct, based on whether they really want to help students. So, we have to choose people as our teachers because we've checked them out. There's no certifying board that says this person's an ethical human being, take them as a teacher. Yes, to get a geshe degree, you have to meet certain circumstances. But tulku and rinpoche, yeah, It's just somebody finds you or identifies you, and who knows what's going on. Yeah.
Say it's not a mistake.
Yeah, they really choose the right
They must be on
person.
one of those paths in order to actually.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Then, what was your question?
Oh, I was just trying to clarify for myself. Yeah.
Oh,
In
okay.
the case where they haven't been misidentified.
Yeah, in the case that they haven't been misidentified, then they could be choosing their own rebirth out of compassion for sentient beings. Yeah. Yeah. And there's definitely going to be bodhisattvas and Buddhas that do that. Yeah.
That they'll never have to be reborn due to their previous karma?
Yeah.
That they'll always get to choose in the future once they get to that point?
Yeah. Once you're at path of seeing, you're no longer reborn under the influence of karma and afflictions. Okay? You're still not necessarily totally out of samsara. That doesn't happen until the 8th ground. But you're no longer reborn, impelled by karma and afflictions. Yeah. Which sounds good. Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, in looking for teachers, don't ask people what their level of accomplishment is. And if people tell you, oh, I'm on the path of this, I'm realized emptiness, hold on to your wallet. Okay? Yeah? The Buddha really said, when people are not supposed to proclaim their realizations, and especially monastics. If a monastic lies about their spiritual relationship, spiritual attainments, they are no longer a monastic. Yeah, it's a root thing that if you break that, finished. Yeah, and even if you tell the truth about what level you're at, that's also an infraction for a monastic. You don't lose your ordination, but it's an infraction. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you. It's wonderful. Last night you were talking about divisive speech, and it's one I feel like I struggle with a lot, especially I do business consulting. I work with a lot of business owners and help them with their teams, and I think it's so easy to fall into negative speech or psychoanalyzing people. You talked about, it's terrifying, and I think I'm conscious of it, but just abstaining from that type of speech doesn't feel like enough sometimes. I feel like what would be the positive karmic activity so in the same way that you brought up with friends today, there's a positive that almost an antidote. Is there one for divisive speech?
Okay, so let me just back up. Your question is there, besides abstaining, what's the positive thing that we can do, for example, in the case of divisive speech? First of all, just abstaining from harmful behavior is itself a constructive action. So if you're in a situation where you could easily lie or have divisive speech, and you say to yourself, nope, I'm not going to do this, then that itself, that restraint itself is positive karma. Then, even better, is to do the opposite. So in the case of divisive words, it would be to use your speech to create harmony amongst people. Okay? So there's many ways to create harmony amongst people. Yeah? You praise the other person to this person. Yeah? You point out their good qualities. You encourage people to work out difficulties. There's all sorts of ways. And when you encourage people to be friends, or at least you help people not to get so blown off the chart when some small thing happens, you feel really happy yourself about it. Yeah?
possibility of that turning your attempt to like remediate the situation turning negative? So say you have a bad friend and you encourage a friendship thinking you're trying to be positive, and you encourage a negative friendship that in turn creates negative karma. Would it not be better to just not say anything in the first place?
Okay, so let me make sure I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so say it again, like,
If you have a negative friend,
okay.
a mutual negative friend, and one of your friends is, for instance, speaking divisively about the person.
So there's two of us
Yeah.
who are friends with this person. This person's...
Like, I don't want to be friends with them, they're a bad person, this, that, and the other thing. You're like, no, just work it out. But lo and behold, you encourage a negative friendship that negatively impacts their life. Would it not be better to just not encourage that? In your conscience of, you're aware that this person's is a negative influence, and you're like, maybe, you know.
Yeah, okay, so we're friends with this person. We come to see this person is actually a bad friend who's behaving in all sorts of, not so good ways. So we're going to withdraw from that friendship. Should we tell our other friend who is friends with them what's going on so they can also withdraw?
Or maybe just let them make up their own decision and not speak positively of the other person, because it could lead to a negative impact.
Yeah, these are kind of dicey situations. If there's some specific information that we're sure is correct, that is not rumors, and that we're sure is correct, and maybe even that we've spoken with this person out here about, so we understand their motivation for doing it, and they're still stuck in really doing some bad behavior, then we might mention it to this person that, I saw someone, I spoke with them about that. I think it's something that maybe you should know, but it's up to you to decide how you want to continue the relationship. So that's very different than you hear something about this person and, oh, that's terrible, and you're really upset, you're really mad, and so you go to this friend and say, look what I just heard about our friend. He's doing blah, 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 and he's cheating us, blah, 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 and I think we should just dump this guy. That is divisive words. And it's also based on gossip and rumor. And we're angry. Okay? So that's very different when, our mind is clear, we have reliable information, and we have a motivation to protect somebody. But then still, the decision is theirs. Yeah. I run into this situation often, sometimes often, yes. I am consistently inconsistent. But like somebody will say, oh, I'm going to study with such and such person. What do you think about that? And like they tell, oh, I'm going to study with, and I know some information about that person that is actually public knowledge on the internet even, but this person clearly hasn't checked up on the teacher, and they ask me, should I go? Or what do you think? Or even they don't ask me. They just say, I'm going. If I know I have to be very careful because I don't want to create divisive speech. If this person is already that other teacher's disciple, then I don't say anything, because I'm not going to interfere with a guru-disciple relationship. If this person has not already that person's student, You know, they haven't actually thought, oh, I'm going to take that person as my teacher. Then I will say, oh, maybe you should know that that teacher or that organization is controversial. And then they may say, well, what happened? And I'll say, look it up on the web, you know? And then let them do the research if they want to do it. And I just say, you know, you just need to know they're controversial, and you investigate, and then you make your own decision. Yeah? So I don't tell them what to do. I just give them information. Yeah. Because I know that if I were about to do that, I would want somebody to give me information. But I also wouldn't want somebody to tell me who should and shouldn't be my teachers. I want to be able to make that decision myself. And I should be able to make it myself. Okay? So that's just one example.
Karmic reasons for somebody to be someone's student, even if that person was controversial or that group was...
Who knows? Maybe this is what we were talking about before. They abandon the good teachers, they abandon their refuge in a previous life. So this life they meet that kind of teacher, and that kind of teacher appeals to them. Pardon?
It's a karma that has to ripen and work itself out.
Well, just the conditions came together for that karma to ripen. It hasn't been purified. If we purify the karma, then it's not going to ripen. Yeah, or it ripens in a short time, or it will ripen way later so that we have more time to do more purification.
Different question. I get hung up on medicine and I was at a center doing a retreat, and in the bathroom there was soaps that say kills germs, you know, and I think about antibiotics, which is against life, the definition of an antibiotic.
You know, those kinds of things, we've asked some of our Dharma teachers about that, if microbes and amoeba and so forth are sentient beings. Nobody really knows. So I don't know if germs are living beings. Yeah, it may or may not be killing.
There's a particular, I thought of this when you were talking about the snails, and there's something similar I did as a kid. And I've actually done the 4-point power purification, but it comes back to me.
Yeah.
So is it purified or is it not?
The 4 opponent powers. Yeah? You can never do the 4 opponent powers too much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, whenever you do the 4 opponent powers, you say all my negativities, and specifically that. You don't say specifically that and forget all the other ones. You know, it's all the other ones, specifically that, yeah, and similar actions that I've done. And especially strengthen the power to not do the action again, you know, so that you really understand, well, why did I do that? And how can I prevent myself from having that kind of distorted motivation in the future times that made me act in that way? Yeah, so that you can really make a very strong decision, you know, I'm not going to behave that way again. And then you just keep purifying. You can never purify too much. Even if that one's already purified, you're purifying something else when you do the 4 opponent powers. Yeah. We have beginningless time of negativities. We're not going to run out. Yeah. And if we run out, that's great.
Just so I'm clear, because I think everything I understand, yeah, the imperative to do that often, but for these specific incidents, like there's almost not enough time in the day, for every specific incident, if you remember it,
Yeah.
and to include it in that practice.
Right. But that's why I said you say all my negativities. Yeah, all my negativities. Okay? And somebody back here has something?
I was wondering, why can't we remember our past lives?
Okay, can you remember where you put your car keys? Always? Good for you! Good for you! Yeah? Yeah, can you remember what you ate 5 years ago last Tuesday?
I usually eat the same things.
Yeah? You see what I'm getting for? Even in this life, we can't remember things. So when there's, a tumultuous period of leaving one body and taking another one, it becomes very difficult to remember things from previous lives. Some people do. And sometimes, children may say different things, but if you live in a culture that doesn't believe in previous life, then your parents tell you you were dreaming. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
This is something I have a problem with. I see somebody that's just walking into a train wreck. And initially I will be like, excuse me, but you might not want to do that. And they just keep walking towards the train wreck, and then I'll go, excuse me, but you... And eventually the latent Irish Catholic in me goes, Jesus Christ, stop it. my motives for wanting to stop are good, but then I end up crossing the line into idiocy. And how does that work out karmically?
Okay, so you start off, you see the train wreck coming, you want to help somebody, you give kind of advice, they don't listen. You give it again, they still don't listen. Then you get really ticked off and you let them have it. Okay? Now, what we also have to do before we give people advice is really check our motivation. And is it really out of kindness or is it out of judgment? Yeah, in other words, are we judging somebody? And they're breaking our rules of the universe. And so we have to fix that really quick by telling them what to do. So we have to check, because sometimes, it's coming from our judgment, isn't it? What somebody should and shouldn't do, yeah, and how they should live their life. So we have to check what our real motivation is and what the situation is. Then sometimes it's good to ask somebody and say, it depends on your relationship with somebody, but to say, I've been thinking about something and, I don't know if you are interested in my ideas or my advice, so just let me know if you are. Yeah, and then if they say they are, then you can tell them. But to often just going up to people once they reach a certain age, yeah, when they're little like that, yes, you give them advice whether they want it or not. Yeah? But when they're big, as any parent of a teenager knows, you have to be very careful about what advice you give and when you give it and how you give it. Yeah? And sometimes people just have to learn from their own mistakes. We can't prevent them from making mistakes. Yeah? So this is one of the difficulties. If we really have compassion, yeah, one of the difficulties is knowing that we cannot make somebody do what we think is best for them. We have to step back, make prayers for them, wish them well, and hope they learn from whatever they experience. Yeah. Because if you switch the roles, how do you feel when other people give you their advice that you haven't asked for?
I actually welcome other advice. I may not listen, I may not follow it, but I will consider it. But, you know, it all depends on what I'm thinking at the time and what where I am.
Right. How about everybody else? Do you like unasked for advice?
Depends on the person.
Yeah. If it's a trusted friend, maybe, and if they say it in a sweet voice, and especially if they make 3 prostrations to you beforehand. Yeah, then maybe yes. Yeah, but there's a number of us, you know, it really depends on what's happening, whether we listen, whether we want it. Yeah, you have your hand up?
You have a question?
What's your question?
How do you make this place?
How did you make
this place? How did we make
how did you make this place? I'm not the one who made it, because I don't live here, but she is the director here, and she can tell you how they made it, okay? But that's a very good question, yeah? Because I think there were a lot of people involved in making this place. So talk to her in the break time, okay? Okay, yeah.
Question about what we were just talking about, like giving advice. I do have a teenage son, and something happened recently where I feel like he didn't learn the lesson, and it's a really dangerous, important lesson, and so I find myself wanting to, of course, help him and teach him as much as I can, but he's 18, so he's on that, like, you know, and I'm angry, really angry that I can't teach him what I feel like he really, really needs to know. Yeah. And it could be a life or death type thing, because I know it's coming from fear for me. Yeah. I know that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to now get past the anger that I feel to kind of help him. Okay. I know I can't control it. I know he's leading the life and he's on the journey that he's on. I understand that piece, but I'm still the mother and still have influence.
Okay, so the question is, you're the parent of a teenager. Your teenager's doing some dangerous things. They won't listen to advice. You want to protect them from danger. You're feeling angry, you're feeling frustrated. How many other parents have felt that way? Put it this way, how many parents have never felt that way? Okay, another question, did you do dangerous things when you were a teenager?
Not to that extent.
Okay, maybe not to that extent, but
sure, yeah. Place myself in danger.
Yeah. I look now at some of the things I did, and it's like, oh my God. Okay, I won't tell you those stories. We'll be here for a while. Yeah. You know what always works better, I think, is to discuss things rather than give advice. And to not wait until the actual situation is there. But like with a teenager saying, oh, you know, I just read about this thing in a magazine or the newspaper, or I just heard this story about somebody doing this. What do you think about it? And then listen to what they say and don't interrupt and tell them they're wrong. Just listen, get their opinions, and then say, you know, and see how they're thinking. And they may have some good ideas and some good reasons for thinking why they're thinking, you know. And then you can share some of your reflections on it. Just like, well, this is how I think. or this is some of the things I would notice, or some of the questions I would ask. But you do it in the framework of having a discussion, not in the framework of giving him advice and telling him what to do and correcting his ideas. But just, and if you start, the earlier you start having discussions with your kids, the easier it's going to be when they become teenagers. Yeah? Because they know that there's a space with you where they can say whatever they want and you're not going to scream at them and tell them they're stupid. And that sometimes takes some self-control on the part of a parent. Yeah?
Done that, and that's why I'm so angry now that he still acted on something that I thought he should.
Yeah. And can you control the situation? You can't control it. So, what alternatives do you have? Yeah? You have the alternative of sit at home and worry, sit at home and be angry, or trust that you've done whatever you could have done when he was younger, and that he will make good decisions, or if he doesn't, he will learn. And if he gets himself in really bad trouble, he'll have to experience the result of it. And sometimes, I talked to one mother, who she was told me that her son, and as teenagers, was just constantly getting into. No, it wasn't the mother who told me. It was the son who told me the story. He was constantly getting into trouble. His mother was always going to court and bailing him out and paying the fine, or paying, whatever had to be paid to fix it, or, somehow getting him home and fixing the situation for him. And one time of many, this happened. The mother said to the judge, I've bailed him out all the other times and I can't do it anymore. You keep him this time. The son told me this, and he said, that's when I realized I had to be responsible for my life. And it was, he really woke up. So that's what you have to do, He spent a few days or weeks in juvie, and it was good for him. I had some other friends. He was the guidance counselor at a high school, and his son went to that high school, and his son, what did he do? He broke into something with some other friends, as teenagers often do, and got arrested. And the father let his son, the cops arrested you, you go to juvie. They brought him to court in shackles. His son learned a big lesson. Yeah. It wasn't a serious thing, so of course he got out. He didn't have a record, he was underage. But he learned something very important. Okay, so it's time to stop and have lunch. And I think there's a potluck lunch, right? So all of you created a lot of good karma by being generous, by bringing food for people to share. Yeah, it's an act of generosity, isn't it? Yeah, so rejoice in it. So we'll do the dedication verses for our session. And then I'll lead you in a food offering. And we'll do it here because everybody will get their food at different times in different places and whatever out there. Okay? Okay, so let's just sit for a minute. Rejoice at what we did. Rejoice at the virtue that we and everybody else created. And think of all that merit as light that you radiate out from your heart chakra at the center of your chest, and think that it goes out and it touches everybody and makes them peaceful, makes them wise, make them want to and able to keep good ethical conduct. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And then think of the food dissolving into emptiness and reappearing as blissful wisdom nectar that we're going to offer to the three jewels. Om Ahung, Om Ahung, Om Ahung. To the Supreme Teacher, the precious Buddha, to the Supreme Refuge, the Holy Precious Dharma, to the Supreme Guides, the precious Sangha, to all the objects of refuge, we make this offering. May we and all those around us never be separated from the Triple Gem in any of our lives. May we always have the opportunity to make offerings to them, and may we continuously receive their blessings and inspiration to progress along the path. By seeing this food as medicine, I will consume it without attachment or complaint, not to increase my arrogant strength or good looks, but solely to sustain my life. Okay. Bon appetit, and we'll meet at 2 o'clock.